and Nissan fam. This is Smitty's Garage. Get a lot of questions what I have going on with Fury. You know, in my opinion, it's nothing more than what thousands of other Titan swap vehicles have. I'm gonna go over what I have, so hopefully it can help guide you on your next build. Let's go. Well, hi guys, as you know, this is Fury. That's what its nickname is anyway. I acquired this car probably around December of 2010. Happens to be a 2010 off-road 6-speed manual. It's been Titan swap, VK swaps, all that fun stuff. But what we're going to be focusing on today is mainly the Titan swap, because that's the one I get the most questions about. It's also the most feasible and the most popular, and what people most enjoy, you know, for their wheeling rigs. So we're gonna go through what I did front to back. I ain't saying this is what you have to do, just saying this is what I did. I did it cheaper than others. Okay, so what? But it does well for me. I also wanna thank the community. You know who you are. I'm not naming everybody I got my parts from, because I respect everybody I got my parts from. I'm not showing any bias, not showing any favoritism. The people, you know who you are, that came up with a Titan swap, that offer parts for these vehicles, that still sell parts to these, even though it's a retired platform. We appreciate you. So let's go. All right, first up, we'll go ahead and start with the front. So we got the old Tundra Titan swap, Bilstein 5100. As you may know, this is a heavy debatable swap, but for those of us that have figured out the spring rates that works for us best, mine is a specifically a passenger trail edition FJ Cruiser spring. Supposedly it's a 615 spring rate, and you'll know you'll have that spring is just by the color combination on the spring. I of course am running the top hats to fix the travel of the shock. In addition, I'm also running Heim joints, a little bit of feedback on the Heims. I enjoy the hell out of them. Steering is more solid. At first during install or after install they were a little stiff, but once you get them worn in, broken in, you hardly even know they're there. Bump steer's a little, you know, different, but who cares? I mean, I'm not too picky about that stuff. I'm more about durability and longevity. And so I know I was only going to speak on suspension, but you can't, you know, not mention Titan swap without the M205. Of course, I got the M205 CVs along with the M205. I got a 373 ratio in there, along with the 369 in the rear. And yes, you can run that confidently. And those of you that say I should run 410s, well, that's because you don't have a VK. So I'm just saying. Alrighty, in lieu of a Titan swap, you also have to run the arms. So of course I got lower A arms for my Titan. I sourced these actually used and just rebuilt them, just to kind of get an idea what it would take. And here's some feedback. Just buy OE arms, okay? Just get OEM. It's the best you can get. It's best bang for the dollar. Longevity, strength, just do it. I've replaced the ball joints, and I believe I'm on my second set now. I mean, but that's because I've used mine. I'm not, you know, prancing on dirt roads and stuff. I am beating on it, you know, so there's a lot of impact on them arms. One thing it has held up pretty well are white line pressed in bushings for the inner legs here. They have held up very well. They have not collapsed. Still in the same condition as when I pressed them in. It's a little tricky pressing all this stuff in on a press, but it can be done. It's just the only thing that sucks is torching them out. So what I have in lieu of that, you know, there's truth in advertising, but I have tubular upper control arms with a Heim joint. These Heims have held out very well. I'm very impressed. The only thing that sucks, there's no adjustability in these arms. Supposedly the caster is built into the arms to push the wheel forward for better wheel and tire fitment. but it'd be nice to have the adjustability. But for overall simplicity, durability, I've been quite impressed with these arms. I don't think I'll plan on swapping these out unless something better comes out. But other than that, they've been low maintenance and very, you know, problem free. And here's another thing, if you notice, I do not have a sway bar. If you run a stiff enough spring on the front, and of course you have to if you have hundreds of pounds of bumper and armor, you're really not going to need a sway bar. I'm not telling you that because I think you should do it. I'm just stating it works for me. I'm not telling you not to run a sway bar, because if you run without a sway bar and go wreck your vehicle, you're going to come crying. You told me not to run a sway bar. But for those of us that have common sense and can drive and have the right and correct suspension setups, you know, I do not have a front sway bar. In lieu of that, I'll just touch on a little bit. You'll also notice that I am not running wheel adapters. I am running 08 plus Titan front brakes, which also came sooner on the Armada QX56s for 06 and up. So yeah, I'm running the rotors, pads, calipers, spindles, etc., along with the wheels. I'll touch on the wheels later. I'm trying to swap those out for other reasons. And then back to the brakes. Does Titan swapping consist of brakes? No, it does not. Titan swapping in the community is just to the suspension components, lower and upper control arms, etc. The brakes are something I did on my own. I did at my own risk. Do I like them? Yes. But that is your own preference. Try at your own risk. If you want a 6 by 5.5 lug pattern and you're open to swapping to this combination, have at it. So when you extend travel, you max out your stock brake lines. Get extended brake lines, front and rear. Stainless, whichever. That's what I prefer, is stainless. Something that's Teflon lined with an outer coating just gives it that extra durability. Keep, you know, less road debris hitting your lines when going down the road. There's a lot going on under here. So if you get in a mud hole, that's just less stuff slinging up on your lines. Also, check your ABS lines at full droop and at full turn. Make sure you're not overexerting them, because if you break one, no four-wheel drive, buddy. Alrighty, let's go on to the rear. And it goes without saying, I do have the M226, which comes standard in the 6-speed and off-road Pull 4X models. As you can tell, I do have Leafs. I believe at this point they may lift at 2.5. They maybe lift at 2.5 and settle down to 2. Then I have the adjustable shackles on metal perch. I recommend, if you have too thin of a leaf, maybe like a standard, you know, 4-pack or whatever, do not put it on the highest perch. You're just going to flatten them out. There's really no perk to putting it on high perch. Just put it on the first or second, in my opinion. So I think if you got the thicker the leaf, yeah, you may be able to put it on high perch, but you're going to get the most benefit from the first and second perch. Also, I got the, you know, the usual diff breather extension that I sourced through my own stuff, you know, local, you know, Parts House, Home Depot, God knows whatever at the time. The usual Bilstein 5125s that have no color to them at the moment. Damn. Had no clue. Yeah, no color at all. But yeah, they were silver at one point. That's crazy. But then of course forgot the manufacturer of this. Like I said, I was not going to name any names, but got a diff, you know, skid. It wraps all the way around. Which I think is necessary, because I do drag this all over rocks, and I did discover at one point that it was messing with the drain plug, so I decided to beef that up some. Also, another item that takes a lot of impact are shock mounts. You know, I think shock skids are necessary when off-roading. Maybe not light off-roading, but if you do tend to go into rock gardens, etc., off-roading, and you know, the black trails, the fun stuff, I think these are necessary. Definitely necessary. Alright, another item that I think is important, a U-bolt flip kit. Stock, the U-bolts come with the threads and studs pointing down, so if you impact these, it makes them difficult to come off. So I just bought an a U-bolt flip kit to solve that. Pretty easy to put on. Not a big deal, just has that extra reassurance and makes it easier for when you want to take it apart the next time. And to summarize on the rear, to match the front, you'll need something to match the front as far as in height. So you either do that by leaf springs or adjustable shackles. I recommend total leaf spring replacement in lieu of an adjustable shackle, because the leaf springs do settle. So once they settle, if you don't like it, and adjust them up, etc. You'll need a rear shock that matches the rear, matches your droop, or matches your lift range. They can be a droop limiter, so if your shocks are too short and you're not using a rear sway at full droop, you can premature wear your shocks, and it can limit your droop. Droop meaning downward travel. So if you were to lift your vehicle off the ground and your wheels are suspended fully downward, that is considered droop. So another question is, if you run rear sways or even front sways, you either need spacers or longer end links. I don't know if you ever noticed, or if you full drip your suspension, you'll notice that sway bars in conjunction with end links can be a droop limiter. So either people just remove them or temporarily disconnect them when wheeling. The only time, if you got a thick enough spring and with towing, you should be fine. But if you're running stock springs, I recommend when towing keeping the stock sway bar. I'm just speaking from experience. When it all comes down to it, just trash the stock leaves and just replace them altogether. Stock leaves are junk. They're probably better off being turned into swords or something. I have no idea, but they're not worth a damn. They fail on almost every vehicle I've seen, so that's the verdict of that. Alrighty, in lieu of all those parts, you also have they have to match the rear track width to the front. Well, somewhat match. Decided just to go 1.5. It was kind of risky going 2, but I wanted to still tuck when articulating on the trails, and it does. It's actually quite snug now, especially with 34.5s or whatever the hell they've worn down to now. But can go to 2 depending on what offset wheel you have or what backspacing wheel you have. But 1.5 to 2 seems to be the gray area to match the front's track width. It's not exactly the same, as you can tell, but you can tell it's Titan swapped. So you may ask, what are the perks of Titan swapping? Well, here's my feedback. I've Titan swapped about 6 years now, and the improvements are better turn radius. I can turn. No, I do not turn around on trails. That's an overlanding thing. But when I need to turn around, for instance, just to backtrack or because of a fallen tree, etc., or if I even need to get into a sharp parking spot, this thing turns on a dime way better than what it did stock. And also, you may not think this, but also did it for the handling, and which is another reason why I'm not considering solid axle swapping. I like the ability to handle on back roads. You know, not everybody likes that with an SUV, but just, you know, for the driving experience, you can't help not to throw it in a curve, especially when you got a VK and a 6-speed manual. You know, you can't help not do it. And the Titan swap does make it handle much better. It's predictable. Yeah, you're gonna have way more body roll. You may have some bounce depending on your tire pressure, but for overall handling, I'm definitely impressed. I've been impressed. No regrets. Well worth the money. Is there better setups out there? Yeah, most certainly. But did I do it for half the price of some others? Yeah, most certainly. But lessons were learned. So one may ask, how'd you source all your parts? Well, I sourced them from reputable people that have contributed to the community. I do my research. I collect over time. You don't necessarily have to feel like you buy them all at once. I did not do that. Saved up, bought them the steps, and just found a good weekend. I can just slap it on all together. The M205 I put in at a later time. I re-geared it and just kind of did it in steps. Don't feel like you have to do it all at once. There's no keeping up to the Joneses, man. It's just do it at your leisure, do it when it's financially feasible. Don't worry about trying to prove yourself to anybody, and just have a goal in mind and aim for it. You know, as y'all know, I work in the industry. I kind of help. My plan for customers is they may not want to do it, but I like to just give them a roadmap. You know, just give them a list of parts. Hey, if you're not going to buy it now, that's cool, but at least you know what you need to get. So what parts have I broke since I've Titan swapped? The only thing I have broken is one CV axle. It was actually a used axle. I'm going to tell you this. I've used nothing but used CV axles and OEM only. I do not. If you use an aftermarket CV, I don't care. It's your opinion. But my opinion is OEM CVs are the way to go. I have rebooted them and they've ran forever. I've only broke one and it was my fault. I had the wheel at full droop and I was in a rut. Had the wheel far clocked to the hard left and I broke the squirrel cage. Didn't break nothing else, but it just broke the squirrel cage. And I just keep in mind, this is a CV that I purchased that had over 200,000 miles on it, that all I did was just put new boots on and re-grease. And I've ran those, God, for like 2 or 3 years, and bam, it popped. So I'm like, I don't blame it. I mean, if I can grab a CV off a used truck and wheel the crap out of it, and it lasts me as long as it did, I'll keep buying used CVs all day long. I'm just saying. And if I end up buying a parts house CV and using those as primary shafts or aftermarket, I'm grabbing at least 1 or 2 extra because they're going to break. I'm just saying. There are other alternatives out there that may not break, but from what I've seen, aftermarket shafts like to break. The most common times I do see them break is when people run too long of a shock, overexerting the CV at full droop. The CVs can only articulate so much, and once they're done, they just snap, you know. So another situation is when people start running larger tires. You know, it's hit or miss. I've seen people, you know, run 38, so they run forever, they're fine, but once you add hundreds of pounds of mud to each axle, you know, start abusing it on, you know, rock gardens, trying to jump over obstacles, yeah, you're going to put it in a situation where it may not be as forgiving as others. So just kind of be prepared, be open to stuff to breaking. It's just perks of the game. It's going to happen. It's not your car. Your car's not a piece of crap. It just happens to everybody. Toyota, Ford, Jeep, it don't matter who you are. Your truck is not indestructible. Just telling you. Now here's the stance as it sits. What lift is it at? Hell if I know. I guess a combination of tires from stock with suspension is probably what, 3.5, 4 inches. I still only want it to be practical and still fit into places I need it to, because I do travel a lot with it, but occasionally do off-road, I tow, etc. I still need it to fit in parking decks. I don't care about lifting it to the sky. And really, it just makes it even more dangerous on the road. I think it's perfect where it's at. Good center of gravity. It doesn't get stuck or high centered on anything, which is a plus, which makes an Xterra a good platform to modify. Alrighty guys, that's all I got. Like I said, thanks again to the community for figuring this stuff out. The community as a whole has built an awesome vehicle. I'm very thankful for those that still support this platform, especially the Xterra, since it has been decommissioned by Nissan. You suck, Nissan, but I still love you. If you have any questions, just reach out. Just PM me. I can help, you know, send you to the right direction. Don't get mad if I say Google, because that's what everybody says, but to be honest with you, that is the way to go. Don't get butthurt over it. Just kind of laying it out there. Instead of me spending hours telling you what to do, I can just tell you, just point you in the right direction. So thanks for watching. That's all I got. Peace out. Thank you all. Bye.